I could not be more excited. I finally got some signals to work. So basically, what it does is the weapon system that I've tried to implement is you have the character, there's a weapon spatial. Ignore this beautiful hunk of meat. Uh, and then the child of the weapon will be the weapon. I tried to make it as flexible as possible. It's not perfect, but at least I got the signals to work right now. And so this weapon is a scene of its own with code that basically says. So first it loads the bullet scene, which is another thing. So bullet, it's this thing. That's the projectile. And then it goes, okay, we're taking this bullet. Nope, where is it? So actually, let's start from the player. So, signal shoot wielder. This just says that you're going to be using a signal. We scroll down. When the player has loaded in, you connect shoot. So, this signal, shoot. So when you use the shoot function now in your code, it'll send a signal to the gun. And I give it a target that the signal will target. I want the signal to link with head.getNode weapon.getNode gun. So in other words, we've got the player, head, weapon, gun. Now what I can do is it's not necessary to say gun. Because this'll change. Uh, so anyway, we scroll down, we look at this normal code. I discovered a really weird bug, by the way, where if I use, I had to start using the rotation of the, I had to. I had to start using the rotation of the actual player and not the head, because the actual player doesn't look up and down, it only turns for the trig, because I encountered a bug where when I used like global something get Euler or whatever, it when I looked straight down, I assume it was maybe a rounding error, I don't know, but it thought that I was looking the completely opposite direction. I Stuff I don't understand, but apparently this fixes it, just using rotation.y and not doing it relative to the head. Uh, so that's good. So over here we have so action 1. So I have that bound to mouse 1, and it is, ignore that. That's unnecessary. Oops, shit. What? That, I don't know what that is. It's very old. Huh. Oh, I remember that. That's just to put your cursor in the middle. But then I encountered that mouse move. Did some weird behavior with that, so I abandoned that. Like the mouse movement detection of difference between 2 points. And so when it's clicked, if the head.getNode weapons, so if there's a weapon and the weapon node isn't empty, well, it needs to have a child because the children are the weapon. Emit signal, shoot self. So what this does is shoot. So this is the shoot signal that we defined earlier, and we connected. And our shoot signal has one parameter, wielder, and in order to pass that parameter, I give self. And self is this, it's basically like, if I were to, it's basically this in JavaScript, I guess. refers to the current node, so the root node of this player. And so this will be helpful because the gun will need to know information about the player. And passing self means that it has all the information it can possibly need. So that's, I don't know, this whole thing with like this being like a string, it just seems really performance intensive, but I don't know how. Maybe that's part of the reason why this isn't pure Python and this is a specialized Python. Maybe they changed the way that works. But the point is, I pass self, I emit the signal, so this is me calling the function basically, the shoot function. And this was just for debugging. And now we look back at the gun. So the gun is already here. I don't need to create it, although I could if I wanted to. But it's already part of the player just for testing. This loads the bullet scene so that it'll be handy. And on player shoot wielder, so that's the same one we linked. So that is, where is it? On player shoot, that's what you link it to. That's the function that it'll recognize. I mean, yeah, that it'll recognize. And so we have on player shoot wielder. Wielder, keep in mind, is self, and so that's also for just debugging. So now we create B, so an instance of the bullet. So we do bullet.instance because bullet is already our scene, so we can just do our bullet tree. And so then we can create an instance. So now we have our bullet. So now this, I just searched up the internet on this because I wanted to get to the very root node of the whole project, so the level itself. So in order to do this, I get tree.getRoot.getNode level, because that is the root of the actual whole project, just the whole thing right now. And I don't know how I'm going to implement maps later. It's going to be a huge pain in the ass. It's the concepts that trouble me. So then we add the bullet instance as a child of the level. So it'll become independent from any of the relative rotations or the relative locations of any of our objects, of any of our spatials of this tree. So it'll just exist, right? Because if we made it a child, if we made the bullets the child of the player, they would start, you know, when you would turn, you would be able to curve your bullets in midair, and that would be really weird. And last time it just doesn't work, so that was not intentional. Okay. Gun. So, where's it? The bullet, nope. The bullet doesn't have a script. It doesn't need one, because the physics engine handles the way the bullet travels. It's basically more of a grenade launcher than a gun, but whatever. Let's see here. So now, keep in mind B is the bullet. So now we do B dot translation. So this is where the bullet is going to appear when we first shoot it. For this, I basically did the wielder's location, not the gun's location, because that'll be a pain in the ass to try to figure out how, you know, to make it actually line up to where you're shooting. So basically, this thing is right in your face, like it shoots it from your mouth, I guess, because it's a wielder.translation.y+1, and wielder is our player. B.rotation, this part was meh. The bullet points the right way when it gets shot out, so this is wielder.getNodeHead, because the head rotates in all directions, but the head's rotation isn't going to have any Y rotation, so that's why I use global.transform.basis.getEuler, because that will make it so that I can reference the head, and it'll also acknowledge the fact that the whole body has been turned, because the head and the Y rotations and the X rotations are separate. Well, they're X are a child of Y. At least I probably, because last time I tried to make it all like all of it dealing with the head node, it broke terribly, and it was a nightmare. So I basically created my own Euler angles by having a parenting of the rotations of the first. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's because now when the player turns, this whole thing turns. Everything that is a child will also turn with it, and so now if I turn the camera, I can have all the basic angles of movement, because the camera just goes like this, but when I turn like that, and when it rotates on the y-axis, the whole body turns, and so the camera turns as well. So there's the bullet. Not important. And this part is the thing that does it all. That's what shoots it. So this took me like 3 days to figure out. Apparently it's that simple. It's just a command. b.setLinearVelocity. And this basically gives, although the bullet is a rigid body, which means the physics engine handles all that, because it would take a literal lifetime to calculate how circular and like different meshed objects behave. The game uses bullet physics for this, which is nothing to do with bullets. It's just what it's called, bullet physics. And so anyway, so we apply a force to our static body, or to our rigid body, which usually doesn't have any forces applied to it. So we do set dot linear velocity, and then we do wielder dot get node head. So again, because the head has all the freedom of rotations. And we need to worry about the transform basis, because the head, if you only look at the head's rotation as far as it's concerned, it's not rotating on the y-axis. So we want to make sure we project it nicely. We multiply whatever this basis, like all I know about this basis is that it just works, and it just helps me put reference things like locally in front or something. And I should probably try to figure out what that means under the hood. But if I multiply it by -25, I apply a force of 25 forward. That is it. And so now let's try to see if the project works. Well, I mean, it kind of looks like this because it it looks like it's bird's eye view, because I was trying to figure out why the projectiles wouldn't shoot, but I figured it out. So we can see that it obviously works. It's a little hard to see, and it's a little hard to control. But basically, nope. It's really annoying to control, but you can see that if I look up, it shoots up. If I look that way, wait, that's not, something's, oh, it's hitting my, my hitbox and bouncing off, which I don't know how to fix yet, but because I'd like to just temporarily disable it as it's getting shot out, and then re-enable it, because I want to be able to like push around my frags. So very cool, right? It works. I'm gonna shoot at the camera. Why is, okay, can you just please, there we are. very, it's there's a bug obviously, but the that linear algebra stuff that I don't even understand yet works. Very convenient. It's not that I understand how to use it. I don't understand how it works. Anyway, so that's cool, but this is a first-person shooter, so we're gonna want to, you know, that's not what I wanted to do. Uh, uh, camera, current, save. Not active. Oh no, not this bug shit again. Why does this happen to me? I would like to disable... Why? I'd like to disable both of them, goddammit. Please. Because this one's enabled. I don't know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Off. Off. I swear to God. Okay. Time to have an egg. That wasn't a joke, I just ate an egg. Okay, I mean... Current. Perfect. Okay. There we are. Now it obviously has some issues with the with it hitting its hitbox. I also would love to find a way to hide the hit to make me not be able to see the freaking to see my beautifully animated body. I should also try to figure out how to texture things because believe it or not, this is actually my logo and I don't know why it wrapped it around this way, but I made this light post. It's pretty cool. Eh. The player actually uses a kinematic body, which is different from a rigid body because the kinematic body, all it does is it detects collisions for you. And then you need to interpret those collisions and apply your own physics. So I had to write my own gravity for it, write my own friction. But these little guys, I couldn't care less what they do. I mean, I do, but it's predictable because it's realistic. Also, I mean, when I walk at a wall, there's nothing, because originally in dual cubes, it was simple. I either collided on the face of a block, and I would know what face it was. It would make it really easy. Minecraft does this too. It makes it really easy to just set that velocity to 0. Which means that when you collide to something and just slide off of it, you'll have to accelerate again. Fortunately, that's not the case for me. Unfortunately, it's not the case for me because my my collisions aren't all always squares. A good fix for this would be to make it so that, anytime you touch a wall, all your velocities get reset. All your x and z velocity get reset, but that would mean that you can't just slide on a wall, which is expected behavior in first-person games. Okay. Well, I mean, that concludes this update. I have a lot of work to do. Goodbye.